This video is for educational purposes. New Orleans is a consolidated city parish located along the Mississippi River in the southeastern region of the U.S. state of Louisiana. With a population of 383,997 according to the 2020 U.S. Census, it is the most populous city in Louisiana and the French Louisiana region, third most populous city in the Deep South, and the 12th most populous city in the southeastern United States. Serving as a major port, New Orleans is considered an economic and commercial hub for the broader Gulf Coast region of the United States. New Orleans is world-renowned for its distinctive music, Creole cuisine, unique dialects, and its annual celebrations and festivals, most notably Mardi Gras. The historic heart of the city is the French Quarter, known for its French and Spanish Creole architecture and vibrant nightlife along Bourbon Street. The city has been described as the most unique in the United States, owing in large part to its cross-cultural and multilingual heritage. Additionally, New Orleans has increasingly been known as Hollywood South due to its prominent role in the film industry and in pop culture. Subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you get notified each time we upload a new video. Founded in 1718 by French colonists, New Orleans was once the territorial capital of French Louisiana before becoming part of the United States in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. New Orleans in 1840 was the third most populous city in the United States, and it was the largest city in the American South from the antebellum era until after World War II. The city has historically been very vulnerable to flooding, due to its high rainfall, low-lying elevation, poor natural drainage, and proximity to multiple bodies of water. State and federal authorities have installed a complex system of levees and drainage pumps in an effort to protect the city. New Orleans was severely affected by Hurricane Katrina in August 2005, which flooded more than 80% of the city, killed more than 1,800 people, and displaced thousands of residents, causing a population decline of over 50%. Since Katrina, major redevelopment efforts have led to a rebound in the city's population. Concerns have been expressed about gentrification, new residents buying property in formerly close-knit communities, and displacement of longtime residents. Additionally, high rates of violent crime continue to plague the city, with New Orleans experiencing 280 murders in 2022, resulting in the highest per capita homicide rate in the United States. The city and Orleans Parish, French, Paroisse d'Orleans, are coterminous. As of 2017, Orleans Parish is the third most populous parish in Louisiana, behind East Baton Rouge Parish and neighboring Jefferson Parish. The city and parish are bounded by St. Tammany Parish and Lake Pontchartrain to the north, St. Bernard Parish and Lake Bourne to the east, Plaquemines Parish to the south, and Jefferson Parish to the south and west. The city anchors the larger Greater New Orleans metropolitan area, which had a population of 1,271,845 in 2020. Greater New Orleans is the most populous metropolitan statistical area, MSA, in Louisiana and, since the 2020 census, has been the 46th most populous MSA in the United States. The name of New Orleans derives from the original French name, La Nouvelle Orleans, which was given to the city in honor of Philippe II, Duke of Orleans, who served as Louis XV's regent from 1715 to 1723. The French city of Orleans itself is named after the Roman Emperor Aurelian, originally being known as Aurelianum. Thus, by extension, since New Orleans is also named after Aurelian, its name in Latin would translate to Nova Aurelia. Following France's defeat in the 7 Years' War and the Treaty of Paris, which was signed in 1763, France transferred possession of Louisiana to Spain. The Spanish renamed the city to Nueva Orleans, which was used until 1800. When the United States acquired possession from France in 1803, the French name was adopted and anglicized to become the modern name, which is still in use today. New Orleans has several nicknames, including these. Crescent City, alluding to the course of the lower Mississippi River around and through the city. The Big Easy, possibly a reference by musicians in the early 20th century to the relative ease of finding work there. The City That Care Forgot, used since at least 1938, referring to the outwardly easygoing, carefree nature of the residents. NOLA, the acronym for New Orleans, Louisiana. La Nouvelle Orleans, New Orleans, was founded in the spring of 1718. May 7th has become the traditional date to mark the anniversary, but the actual day is unknown, by the French Mississippi Company, under the direction of Jean-Baptiste Le Moyne de Bienville, on land inhabited by the Chitimacha. It was named for Philippe II, Duke of Orleans, who was regent of the Kingdom of France at the time. His title came from the French city of Orleans. The French colony of Louisiana was ceded to the Spanish Empire in the 1763 Treaty of Paris, following France's defeat by Great Britain in the 7 Years' War. During the American Revolutionary War, New Orleans was an important port for smuggling aid to the American revolutionaries and transporting military equipment and supplies up the Mississippi River. Beginning in the 1760s, Filipinos began to settle in and around New Orleans. Bernardo de Galvez y Madrid, Count of Galvez, successfully directed a southern campaign against the British from the city in 1779. Nueva Orleans, the name of New Orleans in Spanish, remained under Spanish control until 1803, when it reverted briefly to French rule. Nearly all of the surviving 18th-century architecture of the Vieux-Carré, French Quarter, dates from the Spanish period, notably excepting the old Ursuline convent. As a French colony, Louisiana faced struggles with numerous Native American tribes, who were navigating the competing interests of France, Spain, and England, as well as traditional rivals. Notably, the Natchez, whose traditional lands were along the Mississippi near the modern city of Natchez, Mississippi, had a series of wars culminating in the Natchez Revolt that began in 1729 with the Natchez overrunning Fort Rosalie. Approximately 230 French colonists were killed and the Natchez settlement destroyed, causing fear and concern in New Orleans and the rest of the territory. In retaliation, then-Governor Etienne Purrier launched a campaign to completely destroy the Natchez Nation and its native allies. By 1731, the Natchez people had been killed, enslaved, or dispersed among other tribes, but the campaign soured relations between France and the territory's Native Americans, leading directly into the Chickasaw Wars of the 1730s. Relations with Louisiana's Native American population remained a concern into the 1740s for Governor Marquis de Vaudreuil. In the early 1740s, traders from the 13 colonies crossed into the Appalachian Mountains. The Native American tribes would now operate dependent on which of various European colonists would most benefit them. Several of these tribes, and especially the Chickasaw and Choctaw, would trade goods and gifts for their loyalty. The economic issue in the colony, which continued under Vaudreuil, resulted in many raids by Native American tribes, taking advantage of the French weakness. In 1747 and 1748, the Chickasaw would raid along the east bank of the Mississippi all the way south to Baton Rouge. These raids would often force residents of French Louisiana to take refuge in New Orleans proper. Inability to find labor was the most pressing issue in the young colony. The colonists turned to sub-Saharan African slaves to make their investments in Louisiana profitable. In the late 1710s, the transatlantic slave trade imported enslaved Africans into the colony. This led to the biggest shipment in 1716, where several trading ships appeared with slaves as cargo to the local residents in a one-year span. By 1724, the large number of blacks in Louisiana prompted the institutionalizing of laws governing slavery within the colony. These laws required that slaves be baptized in the Roman Catholic faith, slaves be married in the church. The slave law formed in the 1720s is known as the Code Noir, which would bleed into the antebellum period of the American South as well. Louisiana slave culture had its own distinct Afro-Creole society that called on past cultures and the situation for slaves in the New World. Afro-Creole was present in religious beliefs and the Louisiana Creole language. The religion most associated with this period was called Voodoo. In the city of New Orleans, an inspiring mixture of foreign influences created a melting pot of culture that is still celebrated today. By the end of French colonization in Louisiana, New Orleans was recognized commercially in the Atlantic world. Its inhabitants traded across the French commercial system. New Orleans was a hub for this trade both physically and culturally because it served as the exit point to the rest of the globe for the interior of the North American continent. In one instance, the French government established a chapter house of sisters in New Orleans. The Ursuline sisters, after being sponsored by the Company of the Indies, founded a convent in the city in 1727. At the end of the colonial era, the Ursuline Academy maintained a house of 70 boarding and 100-day students. Today, numerous schools in New Orleans can trace their lineage from this academy. Another notable example is the street plan and architecture still distinguishing New Orleans today. French Louisiana had early architects in the province who were trained as military engineers and were now assigned to design government buildings. Pierre Leblanc de Tours and Adrien de Pauger, for example, planned many early fortifications, along with the street plan for the city of New Orleans. After them in the 1740s, Ignace François Brutin, as engineer-in-chief of Louisiana, reworked the architecture of New Orleans with an extensive public works program. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the notification bell so you get notified each time we upload a new video. See you in the next one.